Testing. You know, I've said that before. I caught my pants down. All right, ready to go? That's fine. I don't think we'll have a problem with that. Okay. Okay, ready to go, guys? Ready, Karen? Okay, good evening, everybody. Cape May City Planning Board is now in session and in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Should any member of this board have reason to believe this meeting is being held in violation of that act, they should so say at this time. Hearing none, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, Karen?
Yes, Mr. Bezaire,
Here.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Riggs, Mr. Crowley,
Here.
Mr. Gorgone,
Here.
Mayor Mullick, Deputy Mayor McDade,
Here.
Mrs. Reed,
Here.
Mr. Lundholm,
Here.
Mr. Bedusas, Mr. Crippen. Here. Thank you.
Okay, we have Resolution 92325, 413, 415 Washington Street LLC, Block 1043, Lot 1. Any corrections to that resolution? Motion to approve?
I'll motion.
I did-
Oh,
I have a question
sorry.
first. I was not here for this. Paragraph 17, I wasn't here and I didn't write it, but I just had a question. Paragraph 17, the third line. It says, "Commitment to longer-term parking has presented a hardship." Is that what it means to say? I thought it was long-term rental. And then later on, it talks about up top, the paragraph before it says, there was a great need for long-term residential. So I thought that that was referring to the long-term renting and not so much long-term parking, which I don't know what that is.
Well, potential for long-term parking is not there.
Is that what that's talking about?
We knew
There
that.
was no discussion about long-term parking. It was more about
I think that's a typo.
it was whether it was going to be a long-term rental or not.
Right, so I think that word, I think you guys mean that to be rental. I wasn't here, I don't know, but I think that's what that's supposed to be. So if you guys want to just
Okay.
look at it, think
Everybody
about it, talk
everybody agree with
about
that?
Yeah, the intent was to make sure they didn't short-term rental it.
Right. Okay, so with that change, get a motion to approve?
All motions approved.
Maureen seconded.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I didn't hear it. Motion by Mr. Lundholm, seconded by Deputy Mayor McDade. Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley? Yes. Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Crippen? Yes. Mr. Jones?
Abstain.
Mr. Bezaire?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the minutes, excuse me, minutes of August 26th for approval. Motion to approve?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Deputy Mayor McDade motions, Mr. Gorgone seconds. Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley? Yes. Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Crippen? Yes. Mr. Jones?
Abstain.
Mr. Bezaire?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the application of the evening, Ocean Club Hotel, CM LLC, 1035 Beach Avenue, Block 1101, lots 2, 3, and 4. Site plan, preliminary and final site plan with variance relief.
Evening, Mr. Chairman,
Guys?
board members. John Amenhauser of the DeWeese Law Firm here this evening on behalf of the applicant, Ocean Club Hotel, CM LLC. As indicated, this property is at 1035 Beach Avenue, located in your C3 zoning district. Through the application that has been filed, the applicant seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval, as well as variance relief under the C2 criteria related to maximum permitted lot coverage, minimum required side yard setbacks, and minimum required building setback to Ocean Avenue, in order to construct a canopy over an already existing deck terrace seating area located on top of the Sea Salt restaurant at the subject property. The restaurant currently has seating permitted for 176 seats. There is no additional seating proposed through this application. The applicant is solely seeking installation of the canopy as an amenity that will allow for more frequent seating in that area, as will be further testified to by Mr. Murphy this evening. There are also certain checklist items that were requested as identified in Mr. Hurlis's review letter. Brian will testify as to justification of those checklist waivers today as well. So we have Mr. Brian Murphy. Brian's a professional engineer and planner with the firm of Pannoni Associates, here to provide professional testimony on behalf of the applicant this evening. We also have Mr. Neil Berger, the manager of the Ocean Club Hotel here. I don't intend to elicit testimony from Neil, but he's here should the board have questions related to the application.
Yep. Also swear in our board engineer to each of you, sir, raise your hand just in case. Please raise your right hand just in case, sir. Okay. And our board engineer is also going to be sworn in. Do each of you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, do you need credentials from Mr. Murphy or accept them? All right. So Brian, can you give the board a general overview of the subject property as it presently situated?
Sure. As with the site plan, as you already stated, it's the Ocean Drive.
Take the microphone up, with you, Brian.
It's the Ocean Club, located on Beach Drive, and it goes all the way back to New Jersey Avenue. There are some photographs on the right-hand side of the site plan, and the key maps are up above. It's an existing structure, and all we're proposing in the lower right-hand corner, my finger's tracing the area, is there is an existing deck, and we want to put a canopy over the existing deck. And on sheet 2, there is a detail showing the precise location of the deck and how the canopy will extend over top of the deck. And then there's the detail of the structural members of the canopy. It will be a fixed canopy with a canvas top.
Brian, can you give some detail related to the height of the proposed canopy over that seating area?
Sure, it's all, the dimensions are on the plan, but it'll be 8 feet above the deck. Will be the bottom, well, it'll be 7 feet to the bottom rung, 8 feet to the top.
Okay. Now, Brian, can you confirm as well that through installation of this canopy, there's no additional lighting that's proposed on the plan?
No, the lighting, there is a wall lighting that exists for the benefit of the people who currently utilize the deck. In addition to that, there are battery-operated candles on all the tables that are out there. So between the candles and existing lighting, there'll be no additional lighting. And what this canopy will do is will shield all those lights from any of the neighbors. To the extent they currently see those lights, it'll be diminished or be no change as a result of this canopy.
Okay. Now, Brian, based on the application plans that you filed, would you agree that the variance relief that we need pertains to maximum permitted lot coverage, minimum required side yard setback, and minimum required building setback?
Correct. And in the order you stated, we're at 99.9% coverage without the canopy, and we'll be at 99.9% coverage with the canopy, albeit there will be about I think about 55, 60 square foot increase if you include how the canopy leans a little bit over top. It's a little bit larger than the deck. It's about a foot. So as it rains, the water will drop down onto the landscaped area in the front and not onto the deck. The front yard setback, currently the deck is about 5.7 feet from the front yard setback. The canopy will extend out a little bit over a foot beyond that, so it'll be about a foot to a foot and a half closer to the street than the deck currently is. And then also on the side yard, it gets to 0.8 feet where there's 2.2 feet right now for the side yard. So that's the coverage, the front yard, and the side yard setback. And if the canopy is raised, as I stated earlier, it's about 8 feet higher than the deck, and the deck is elevated. So I don't see there will be any visual obstruction to the pedestrian traffic walking along Beach Avenue.
Okay. So none of those encroachments are on ground level, they're all elevated, correct?
Correct.
Okay, got it. And Brian, for any of the other pre-existing non-conforming conditions that may already exist at the site, we're not exacerbating those in any way through this application, right?
We're not changing any grades. We're not changing any lighting other than putting a canopy over top of the existing lighting. We're not changing the need for any parking. We're not changing any landscaping, so there are no other changes other than simply adding a canopy over top of an existing deck.
Okay. Now, in relation to the variances that we're asking for under the C2 criteria, is it your professional opinion that if the board were inclined to grant this relief, certain purposes of zoning would be enhanced and promoted?
Yes, I do believe that. As
And
you
what
know,
purposes are those?
I believe I is the one that jumps out at me, and that is to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangements. And I believe that this will enhance the visual aspect in a positive way to this existing structure.
Okay. Any other purposes you want to place on the record at this time, or?
That's the key one, I believe.
That's your key, okay.
Yes.
And then, is it also your professional opinion that in addition to that, there would be no negative, substantial detriment to the public good or the zone plan if the board were inclined to grant this relief?
I don't believe there'll be any significant detriment to the Cape May City Zone Plan and zoning ordinance should this application be approved.
Okay. Brian, there was one thing I wanted to cover. When we looked at some of the approvals from the outside agencies that were received, there was a comment on the Environmental Commission's recommendation of approval pertaining to potential runoff into the surrounding landscaping. Can you weigh in as to whether you believe that this would have any negative impact on the landscaping surrounding the canopy if approved?
It'll be a de minimis, in my opinion.
The microphone.
Sorry. As shown in the photographs that are on the right-hand side, that's already landscaped in that area. So what'll happen is that the runoff that currently runs off from the deck, it'll be from the canopy, it'll run down, it'll drop onto that landscaped area, and so they're established vegetation area, not worried about them washing out onto the sidewalk. And it is professionally maintained to the extent that after rainfall, there is some mulch or something that goes out onto the sidewalk. It's a very simple matter of just sweeping it back up again. So I don't think it'll be any significant detriment.
And would you agree that the existing landscaping will be preserved through this application? We're not affecting that in any way, correct?
Not in any way. That's
Okay.
correct.
Brian, we did ask for a couple of additional checklist waivers related to submission of an environmental impact statement, for one. Do you believe that waiver would be justified here?
I do, and for the fact that there's no reasonable environmental detriment to this, all it is just a covering over an existing deck.
Okay. You've already touched on lighting, but we also asked for a waiver from the requirement to submit a grading plan. You believe that's also justified here?
Correct, because there will be no change in any grades as a part of this application. So to the extent how the water runs off today and is handled, it'd be the same way tomorrow.
Okay. And lastly, we're not proposing any new signage through this application, is that right?
No, there's no new signage associated with this, and there's no signage proposed on the canopy itself.
Okay. Brian, in addition to those items, are you agreeable to accepting the board engineer's general review comments as condition of approval of this application?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add at this time, Brian?
No, I think that it's a relatively straightforward application. It's a covering of an existing deck. I think it'll be a visual enhancement. And more than that, it will allow, in talking to Mr. Berger, this area to be better utilized. You have people out there, they're eating, enjoying a good meal, and it starts to rain. What do you do with them? You can't bring them inside. There's already people eating inside. So it creates a stressful situation for the restaurant and for the patrons. In the mornings, as the sun rises up, it's a beautiful sunrise, but then it gets hot. And having a canopy, you get to enjoy the view of the sunrise, but without all that intense heat that comes with it. So I think it's all, from my perspective, it's all beneficial.
Okay. Mr. Chair, that's all I have of Mr. Murphy. Just one question of Mr. Berger while we're here, too. You received conceptual approval from the Historic Preservation Commission already.
Turn your
Oh, I'm
microphone
sorry.
on, Neil.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. In your presentation to them, did you present them with the color and fabric that you'd be proposing for this canopy?
Yes.
Okay, and what color is proposed for the canopy?
It's an orange color. It's the same as the existing awnings that we have on all of the rooms on the first and part of the second floor.
So it'll remain consistent with the
Yes.
awnings that are presently on the property,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay. And then as a further condition of that approval, is it accurate to state that you also agreed that any aluminum post related to the canopy would be painted white?
Yeah, they asked that the framework of it be white instead of bare aluminum, and I agreed to that.
Okay. That's all I have at this time, Mr. Chair. Any questions we're happy to answer?
I have a few questions. Is that okay? So the existing umbrellas will be removed?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that this is a canvas?
We have one swatch. Don't have
Okay.
many, but
It's
we have.
umbrella fabric, which
Okay,
is the
yeah.
industry
Is
standard.
it are you planning to keep it up all year round, or will
No.
you remove that? You would remove that?
That was asked at the HBC. and
Okay.
It'll be removed, just like our other canopies.
Okay. You mentioned that you won't be adding any additional electric. Will you install ceiling fans? No. Okay. And how about any gas lamps outside for heating purposes for year-round use, or,
No.
Okay. And this will be removed. And the drainage that you mentioned, sir, is there any drainage currently, French drains in that landscape area, or is it just
Not that
natural
I'm aware of. I
runoff?
believe it's just landscaping.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other have any questions? There's no public, don't have to worry about that. Craig, go through your comments.
I'd like to summarize my August 27th, 2025 review memorandum for this application. This is an application in the C3 Hotel Motel District. You've heard testimony from the applicants indicating they're proposing to remove the existing umbrellas that shade the seating out there and replace it with this awning that they're proposing. They've requested completeness checklist waivers from the C&D variance checklist, items number 19 and 33. I supported those under the required site plan. So they're asking for a site plan preliminary and final approval tonight. Under that checklist, item number 3, P, V, W, and Y, I supported all of those waivers. There were 2 that I asked for additional information. And they kind of went a little different direction than what I was asking, kind of my concern with regards to the lighting. We don't have an elevation of the canopy in relationship to the existing lighting that services that front deck. I wanted to make sure that that installation of the awning was not going to black out those lights so that there was no lighting for those seats. So we want to make sure that that is done.
Sure.
So that should be a condition of approval, that the lighting shall remain on the facade of that building and be, functional after the installation of the awning. The other item was R, which was the sign. There is a sign on that facade. And I think it sits higher than the awning. I'm guesstimating, but because we didn't have any facade of that, I just want to make sure that the top of that awning was not going to require the relocation of that signage. So those were my 2 concerns. Those items should be addressed as condition of approval, and based on that recommendation, I did support deeming this application complete. I agreed with the applicant's testimony. There are 3 variances required. They relate, 2 of them relate to the structure, or actually all 3 of them relate to the installation of the structure. There is a 20-foot setback requirement for Beach Avenue. We now have an existing non-conforming situation that relates to the pool and deck terrace. There's a 0-foot setback measured to the pool deck. The deck terrace is set back 6 feet. Those are both existing nonconformities. This proposed canopy will be set back 4.5 feet, so there's a variance necessary for that. The side yard setback, so the portion of this if you're looking at it from Beach Avenue, on the left side, there is an existing nonconformity on that side of 0.35 feet measured to the nearest face of the structure. The canopy will actually be 0.8 feet, so it'll encroach into the 10-foot required side yard setback. So that's another variance that's required. And then finally, you have about 60 square feet of additional impervious coverage that's proposed over top of that landscaping that's right in front of that. It really doesn't tick up the number that much because the site is so large, but there is an additional increase of lot coverage there. So you're at 99.9%, where 75% is the maximum permitted. So those are the three variances that the board has to address. My general review comments are very standard. There's no real, these are all, should be conditions of approval. They're all standard conditions of any site plan variance approval that we grant. So all of those should be conditions of approval. I will talk about the reports that we received. We received an Environmental Commission recommendation of approval with a condition that they address the potential adverse impacts from runoff into that front landscaping. Mr. Murphy has testified that that is mature landscaping and that he doesn't foresee any negative impacts. I found it, I didn't have, I had a similar response to that comment, so I didn't take issue with it. We will review that after, one of the conditions is they have to address, as a condition of approval is number 2, they have to comply with the minimum stormwater management and grading requirements both during and after construction. If that becomes problematic, we have the ability to have recourse to go back and have them address that situation. They did receive notice of conceptual approval from the HPC dated March 17th, 2025. The conditions are listed in there. The Police Department recommended approval with no comments dated 8/28/2025. Public Works Department recommended approval with no comments dated 9/2/25. Shade Tree Commission recommended approval with the following conditions. If no trees will be removed, we approve of the dining canopy. If any planting is to be removed, we recommend a 2-for-1 replacement of plantings. They've indicated that they're going to preserve all the landscaping, so I believe they can comply with that. That recommendation was dated 9/15/25. So that is a summary of my review memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board has.
Do you have any questions?
I got nothing.
I have just one comment, and a lot of you guys weren't on this board when it happened, but this property has been through a couple iterations over the years. And at one point, there was 6 or 7 parking spaces where this front deck is, which they agreed to remove years ago because it was an issue backing out of Beach Drive. And in the back parking lot used to empty directly into New Jersey Avenue. When they came in and they didn't receive any more units, there was no addition to the building, but they voluntarily landscaped that area that faced New Jersey Avenue so that people now are having to pull out of there and drive down one exit instead of 35 cars backing into New Jersey Avenue. So these guys have been good neighbors for a long time.
I sat through some long meetings. They also upgraded the vent exhaust fans that were the bane of the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
That
So,
was a monstrous expense, and
Yeah.
it isn't adequate.
yeah,
It has issues.
so I can echo that sentiment.
I was also eating there when it started raining. As a matter of fact, I watched that happen.
What do you do?
Anyway, okay, so no other comments? We'll just approve everything as one? You want to give the,
Or deny it, that's your discretion. The application I recommend being made, but how you vote is up to you, is a motion to grant site plan preliminary and final approval, and with the associated variances, subject to the waivers and conditions outlined by the board engineer on pages 2 and 3 and 6, of the engineering report dated August 27, 2025.
motion to that effect?
I will make the motion.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor McDade motions. Mr. Crippen seconds. Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crowley? Yes. Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Crippen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Becerra?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We won't be putting that up this season now because the season's over, so it'll be in the spring anyway.
Yep. Very good.
Thanks again.
You can take 2 years from now if you want.
20 years.
Two. Okay, guys, the next on the agenda is a master plan review ordinance Doesn't have a number
Workforce
to it.
housing.
But this is the workforce housing ordinance, which we started to discuss at the last meeting, and we've had some time to look at the ordinance. I believe this ordinance has been basically narrowed down to the Washington Street Mall properties and not anything beyond that. The time limitations, I believe it has to be a minimum of 90-day rental, we've agreed. I believe that's the sentiment.
It also gave a definition to what workforce housing constitutes.
Yes. Now, I do have one question on page 2, the very bottom. It says that 2 persons shall have a minimum of 100 square feet of space. Below that, and it says 150 square feet of habitable area for the first occupant and 100 square feet after that. I'm not sure why we have to further define that as if it's 100 square feet for 2 people, that should, I think, be sufficient to say that's what you need for sleeping accommodations.
Right.
I'm not sure why we're muddying the waters in the same ordinance.
What if there's 4 people?
Then you have to have 400 square feet. Well, you have to have
A number of
you'd
100
have to-
square feet.
200 square feet.
You'd have to have 450 square feet, wouldn't you?
No, no.
150
it's
for the
100
first?
No, it's 100 square feet
For 2.
for 2 people. That's the first qualification.
Wait, let me go through this with you. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
I don't know why we have all this in there. We should just stop it right there, in my opinion.
Why does your version look different than mine? Alderman Craig's report. Okay, you're just looking at something. What are you looking at? Oh, okay, that's Peter in his report. All right, I'm looking at Craig's. I think it says the same thing. All right, so let's make sure we understand this. You need 150 for the first
No, you
person.
need 100 square feet for 2 people. That's what it says to begin with. There's a minimum of 100 square feet.
I think there's
One is-
two, I think there's
isn't one
two
for a
different,
bedroom and one for the size of the
I
unit?
think there's 2 different standards there.
Yeah, one's a
So
bedroom.
the first one, the way that I read this is the first one, specific standards applicable to workforce housing are as follows. Consistent with the International Property Maintenance Code, IPMC 404-4, .4.1, each bedroom for 1 person shall be a minimum of 70 square feet, and any bedroom proposing 2 persons shall be a minimum of 100 square feet. Then it says, "There shall be no more than 2 persons per bedroom regardless of size. Overall, a workforce housing dwelling unit shall not be occupied by more occupants than permitted under the following formula." So I believe that this is more of a zoning formula in addition to, no? Am I
I
saying
think
that?
one is about bedrooms, one is about the whole unit.
Okay, there
So
you
the
go.
first sentence, you have to have bedrooms of a certain size. The second part is about habitable
Right.
floor area of the whole
That's why
unit.
you're an attorney and I'm an engineer.
No, well, that's okay. I mean, that's what I think it is. I think the
No,
first one,
that makes sense. That made more sense.
so just read it again and see if that does it for everybody. I think that's the difference.
Well, here's,
Because you're going to have more space than just the bedroom.
but here's what
Am I
happens.
wrong?
Take that second there. If you're saying 2 persons for 100 square feet, that's the first
In a bedroom.
in a
Better.
bedroom.
Right.
You take the next position, and now it's 150 square feet for the first occupancy.
Not in a bedroom, in a whole building,
In the whole
in the whole
For
unit.
the whole space.
Not just a bedroom.
Right.
And then.
It can be a living room, bathroom.
And then 100 square feet of additional habitable area should be required for each additional occupant. So now it's not 2 people per bedroom, now it's, after you hit the.
Forget bedrooms.
No,
Forget
they-
bedrooms, yeah.
This has nothing to do with a bedroom.
It's just apartments.
This is
It's
this
the
is
apartment.
the
You have to
bedroom.
have,
That's the total,
The
habitable space is the
bathroom-
total area.
But for each additional person, it's now 100 square feet?
Well, let's say it's 5 people. Bill, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's say it's 5 people, okay? If there's 5 people, you need a apartment, all aspects of it. The laundry room, the bedroom, the bathrooms, the kitchenette, and the living
That would
room.
be 550
5 people
square
have to be
feet.
550 square feet. The bedrooms within that unit
Small.
would have to be
That's the way I read it.
it'd have to be 2 100-foot ones, and then a 70.
Right.
Correct.
But it doesn't say that you could have 2 people in the additional 100 square foot bedroom. That's my.
But there's no, this isn't talking about bedrooms. This is the whole unit.
Habitable.
It's a whole thing.
It's
So
saying
just
if-
follow the example.
then let's-
So it'd be a 550 square, with 5 people, you need 550 square feet of an apartment, and then the bedrooms in that would have to be 100, 170. Now, that's 270. That would mean, though, that you would need 230 square feet of living area,
Bathrooms.
bathrooms, whatever else. So you can't just have like a little,
You can't just have a bedroom.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, if you had two people in the,
Well, what about?
Isn't that it?
what about a
Is that wrong?
situation- Over the mall, you're not gonna have a big issue with that sort of thing. When we start getting beyond this, you might have an area where you're gonna have a building that's got,
Common space?
and then a bunch, and then a lot of bedrooms.
You could have studio apartments that, but you're not going to put 2 or 3 people in those. You could have common spaces for,
Well, this is gonna work for the mall, because there's nothing big on the mall.
which is what we're addressing at this point. Right.
I just know that down, if you get something that's gonna be larger, and you're talking about a building that can have 30 bedrooms in
Mm-hmm.
it, you don't need, then now you're gonna have to have all the extra.
So you're talking
space.
more like a dormitory style?
Exactly.
Okay, I think when we get to that,
Then we have to define that part of it.
exactly, right now, this is the minimum threshold that is being recommended.
You wouldn't want 5 people in an apartment less than
No.
550 square
Yeah.
feet. I think that number's a
No,
little
I'm-
light.
I'm-
actually.
yeah.
I think that was sort of the goal,
Okay.
not to allow that.
All right. Everybody okay with that? That's good?
Yeah, I just have a question when you're done with that. Where did this originate, this ordinance proposal?
Well, I'll give you the background. It was before I was on the planning board for the application that was presented by the gentleman from the Queen May. And there was a feeling that what had been approved at this board had not necessarily been held up, for lack of a better word.
It originated before that.
It originated,
My
And the
recollection
master
is that
plan.
it originated,
master plan reexamination. We all discussed this, and it ended up as a recommendation in the master plan reexamination.
Maybe address workforce housing at some point.
But it didn't come from the mall people, it came from the city.
It came from discussions during our master plan reexamination, where we felt that we recognized that this was a problem in 2018, and that we were going to try and come up with a solution.
And the problem was there was no workforce housing.
no, my recollection, I can't speak to the master plan, I wasn't as involved in that. My recollection of it coming up for the first time from me and discussing it with the board was an application over, it was the people who own the Fudge thing, and it's next to what used to be Stewart's, somewhere over in that area. And they were doing something upstairs. And I remember saying to everyone that they were approving it based on it being workforce housing. And I said, understand that's not in the resolution. And if anybody thinks that they're gonna put workforce housing up there, they're not paying attention. It's gonna be an Airbnb, because no one is gonna put workforce housing where they can get $5,000 a night. And it was around the time that Peter Shields was putting in a luxury hotel in the mall. And so now you're gonna start doing Airbnbs with people with no parking. And I was like,
You're talking about the,
above the
Applications.
Willow thing, yeah.
about,
Oh, the application I'm talking about?
Peter Shields was not on the mall.
No, the Peter Shields one is on the corner of
Talk about
Decatur.
Finn's.
No,
No.
across the street from
The
Fifth.
guy who owns Peter Shields has above Willow and Stone, or whatever that
Yes,
thing
yes,
is,
yes.
above that is Peter Shields Hotels. So, you're gonna put you're expecting people to put workforce housing above, on the mall, when in that area, there's high-end hotel rentals. So they're all gonna be Airbnbs. So now you're agreeing to put, the object of the exercise was, we're gonna do workforce housing because they don't drive much. But if you're gonna put a 5-bedroom apartment above a mall unit, which they were doing, that is going to be 2 or 3 families with 6 cars doing an Airbnb above the mall. And that's okay if that's what you want to do, but the no parking aspect of it was thrown off kilter. I said that way back when, and now it's kind of, I'm not even sure Airbnbs were there when I think we always said Airbnb. But now that's what's happened, is it doesn't make any sense to have no parking requirement if it's going to be residential rental units.
It doesn't make, my opinion, sense to have a parking requirement on the mall to begin with.
It should have been.
No, it doesn't. So does the code, does anywhere, and Craig, this will be a question for you, anywhere in the code to define rentals, define how long you rent them?
Say it again.
When you, in the code, when it defines a residential rental, does it define how long you rent them? the term?
Short-term rental.
Rentals are a form, like, it's a form of ownership. So in dealing with zoning, we only approve the uses.
A residential rental is a use.
Limitation on the,
In this case, we are defining how these workforce housing units are to be rented. So we're creating this definition. This is a brand-new use that we're implementing into that zone. You know, so it's defined and it's been revised to address a lot of your concerns with the fact that we didn't have a lot of controls with the size, with the term. So all of those things have been incorporated into this new definition. So now that is all part of the use.
I agree with that, but I view it a little bit different.
Okay.
I view it as putting a condition on not having a parking requirement. So basically, you're saying you're not going to need to demonstrate a variance for parking if you're using it for a workforce, something that looks like workforce housing. Because generally, the benefit of that is so great, and the odds of those people actually driving cars so low, that it justifies not having the same parking requirements that you would have if it was an ordinary weekly rental moving in and out every week or every night with families parking. So to me, it has a totally different parking analysis.
and workforce, your workforce conjures up a certain use, but it's not that. It's anything, workforce is anything more than 90-day. It's got to be a minimum of 90-day rental. Whether an owner uses it or whether it's employees, it's not, it doesn't mean that an owner can't use it. It just means that it has to be given to a 90-day or more rental. That's,
And one of the reasons for that also is that we want to see, you know, people who want to live here coming back into the city and
No, I understand.
affordable. So from that perspective, to me, it's sort of like making sure that we've got a new generation of people who are wanting to come here, live here, and contribute.
but this is not going to go anywhere near far enough to
No,
Well,
it's not.
Making it affordable is totally different than how, I mean, you can't tell somebody,
This is not a.
put a rate on what they can charge, right?
No.
So
We're not
If-
dictating rates, we're dictating the use.
if the intent is to create a special circumstance for people that want to create workforce housing, why does it have to say no short-term rental? Why can that part, why can't you have a stipulation for someone that wants to create workforce housing
I
and just
believe-
leave it at that?
Workforce doesn't stay for 3 days.
No, but I'm just saying, why can't you have a stipulation that says if you create workforce housing, no parking, blah, blah, blah? Why does it have to say no short-term rental?
Because
What if someone wants to do that?
the fact that we're not having a parking requirement, that analysis changes drastically if you have short-term turnovers in the mall that doesn't have any parking. And that is an adverse impact. And I think that the board is pretty much, you know,
The supposition is workforce people are going to have bikes and not cars.
Yeah.
That's the,
Yeah, but in reality, what you're saying is that the minimum rental is 90 days.
right.
Okay, whether it be workforce or whatever reason, 90 days is the minimum rental that you can have. Oh, by the way, that fits in with what workforce housing would be.
It's
And you don't, and as a result, the incentive of doing that
That's
is you
exactly-
don't have
Well, it's
to
an
have
experiment
parking.
that's going to be an ordinance. But a workforce housing person parks their car back on Bank Street in a street with no meter and leaves it there all summer and rides their bike around,
Well,
right?
that's certainly.
It just seems like it's more intent to eliminate the short-term rentals than it is to create
It
workforce housing.
is.
It is.
In reality,
On the mall, yes.
Are the
it is.
mall people
only
complaining
the
about
mall, only the mall.
that? Are the mall people
I
complaining about
think
that?
we were
No, what they're
concerned.
complaining about is having to get a parking variance all the time. And this eliminates that if you're also contributing the possibility of workforce housing instead of an Airbnb above your unit.
So
You can always come in and ask for a variance.
It's probably not going to encourage somebody who has a one-story building to put up 2 more floors and put, the cost benefit is not there. It's not happening.
right.
Currently existing space and to encourage people to allow that to be rented by what we're defining as workforce housing and discourage those units being converted into short-term rentals with people coming in and out of parking spots, cleaners, everything else. So, you know,
But there still will be short-term rentals in the mall space.
Correct. It doesn't affect existing,
And does anybody know how many currently short-term rental operations are in that?
unless you go to the mercantile license office and find out, no. I mean, I could estimate, I'm there every day for 45 years, I can tell you.
Yeah.
But there may be some that I don't, that don't have permits. Who the hell knows?
That was going to be my comment. That doesn't mean just because they're putting it out on Airbnb or some other means that they have a permit. I mean, so.
It's not a ton. That's not a whole lot of it.
Well, since we're grandfathering it,
Are we?
that's what the language says here.
Where is that language?
Yeah.
Well, you can't make this retroactive.
I understand. I'm looking ahead.
It's in my report on page 5 of 7. Section 3 towards the bottom of the page, effect on existing use.
Oh, I admit, I didn't see that was changing. Okay, let me-
And that was discussed when this was initially presented at this
When we-
board as well as
when we-
at
When
council.
we discussed this last time, the sense I got was that grandfathering is already in effect.
Correct.
Why then do we have to put new language?
It's
providing
section 3, effect on existing uses, is the grandfather
That is
clause.
not language that goes into the ordinance. It's more of a, I don't know, what's the terminology, Rich? It's going into the draft ordinance, but section 3 is just
It's justification language, something like that?
something like that. Right. It doesn't end up in our ordinance.
Justification
Our
language.
ordinance already has the grandfathering clause or whatever.
So you're just referencing it,
The ordinance is referencing or clarifying its effect on existing uses.
okay, I had another question.
Okay, well, hold on, I'm not done with that. I'm sorry, one second, I want to understand that. An application for certificate of pre-existing non-conforming use may be made to the zoning office within 1 year of the adoption of this ordinance or at any time to the zoning board. So if someone has a short-term rental, they have a year to go and get a certificate of non-conformity. Or at any time, they can come here
The ordinance doesn't
and
say that.
establish it.
The ordinance doesn't say that.
No, it does.
It does.
The new ordinance doesn't say it, but I'm being told the existing ordinance says it.
No.
This section 3, is that going to be in an ordinance or not?
It's in the.
It's in the
It's
ordinance,
already in the
It's
ordinance.
in the draft ordinance, yes.
it's right here.
So this
Not
section
in
3 is
But
going to be.
that section doesn't end up in our zoning code, is what I was saying. It's not.
Oh, it's in a different part of the code.
Correct.
Okay. So it's in part of the municipal code, but not necessarily the section on zoning.
Correct.
It's part of the draft ordinance that gets adopted.
And I think that the reason Mr. Gillenschwartz did this to make sure it was very clear that we were not sort of resetting the clock here.
Yes,
That
no.
anyone, yeah.
No, I don't, I have.
Which
no
was
issue with
discussed
it.
at council.
I just want to make sure that,
So then,
how can that not be in the zoning section?
I don't know. Maybe that's a recommendation we should make, that it's put in the zoning ordinance.
It should be. It should be, hold on, let me see if it's maybe in there.
Because
There probably should be something, 525,
if you notice, section 2 is a revision to section 525-22, which is part of our zoning code. Section 3 is part of the ordinance document, but it's not an addition of that language into our zoning code. At least the way it's proposed here.
Can I just ask, all of this is just for the 3 blocks of the mall, or does it extend a little bit?
So the recommendation was made at the last planning board meeting that this would only be a test case, or not a test case, this would only apply
For the 3 blocks?
to the blocks wholly within the Washington Street Mall. So the surrounding C1 block and lots are not included in this.
That's my question, thank you.
I would ask that we just ask Mr. Gillen-Schwartz to consider whether any reference to this section 3 should be in the zoning ordinance, because that is clearly a zoning
So this doesn't belong
provision.
here?
This thing about grandfathering in 1 year and
And
all
I
of
don't
that.
know that we have that provision anywhere else in that zoning
We
code.
can't, because it references the Washington Street Mall Workforce Housing Overlay, and that's only
Right.
being created now. So I guess there's Just so that's, let's have them think about that, because this is going to come up, because whenever you declare something a non-conforming use, remember the question is whether it's being expanded. Right? So when is that use being expanded? So if someone has an area that's storage and is becoming part of the apartment, that's expansion of a non-conforming use.
So let me ask this question then. If somebody has to make an application within 1 year of the adoption of this to establish the fact that it's a pre-existing use, right? That's what this says.
Well, it also says, or any time to the zoning board.
Yeah, but 5 years from now, the zoning board's not going to know what this was all about. My suggestion would be you notify people who have an apartment now, make an application, cover your behind now, so there's a record of the fact that you've got a pre-existing use. Otherwise, just take it out. Otherwise, we don't need it, because the records, the construction office records show what's there. And anytime somebody comes in to make a change in a property in the mall, the zoning officer, the construction official, they're gonna go back to the, you know, Mike, they go back through all the records that are on file at City Hall to find out if that was actually there. Why are we even doing this? If it's there, and grandfathering, we all agree if grandfathering exists, and something that's there when a new ordinance is put on the books is exempted from those new regulations,
I think.
why are we muddying the water?
Unless you don't want them anymore, then you would
No,
slowly get rid of them.
No, I think what Mr. Gillenshorst was trying to do, and I would say, Mr. King, to reach out to him and ask him, and I'll make sure he's aware, was that there seemed to be a lot of pushback immediately when this was just introduced, with people thinking that we were taking away, if they had currently an Airbnb or other permit
Just
use.
a shorter-term rental.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Airbnb thing's become a dirty word.
Okay,
Short-term
short-term
rental.
rentals, whatever word you want to use. But at any rate, I think he thought that it was clarifying for the public who were listening to this discussion at this meeting or at the council meeting, that we were not coming in and taking away something that they had already been using as a permitted use. So I think that was his intent. That was what he presented at the council meeting when this was originally introduced. So I think it's a matter of going back and clarifying with him. Is it needed in here? Is it not needed in
may
here?
not be
Or
needed.
or does it require, some other
I think I know
form?
what he, now, I think, thank you for that explanation. And as I read this, I think I know what he's doing. He's trying to help the people. Because it can be hard to come in much later and establish what you were doing 5 or 6 years ago. This gives them the opportunity to apply for it now, while they have their leases from the last year, and establish themselves, so they don't have to worry about doing it years from now.
But why do
So
you
he's
have
trying
to
to
do
help
that?
them.
If it's
They don't
grandfa-
have
if
to,
it's
but if you don't,
grandfathered-
but if you don't give them that opportunity, then they
Bill, I think that we also
then they'd have to
recognize.
come in here and
Right.
apply for a certificate of nonconformity.
Yeah, I think also it's recognized that we don't know who has these uses right now. There's not an inventory. We just discussed that a few minutes ago. We're not sure what everything's being used for currently, whether it's a
Well, then
short-term
everybody
rental
in the mall
or a
should
long.
get a letter from the city saying, if you have apartments that are currently being rented, please make application to the city.
We can, that would go back to Mr. Gillenschwartz, and if that's a method of communication. I just know that he brought this up specifically.
I think you're both saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's the method by which it happens. Either you put it publicly within an ordinance, or you send a letter. Either one. So.
So the two recommendations, as I understand it, would be as follows, to kind of clarify the record, so when people look back, they know where we ended. Is one, just ask Mr. Gillenschwartz to consider whether any part of this Section 3 should be referenced in the zoning ordinance as well. And two, when this ordinance is passed, a copy of it should be sent to everyone on the tax list on the Washington Street Mall, so that they know what it is and they can avail themselves of the opportunities that are in it if they wish to. Not as an obligation, but as a courtesy.
Yes.
Okay?
It's a good
Is that
idea.
where we're at?
Yeah.
I had another question. The proposed language creates what is called a Washington Street Mall Workforce Housing Overlay in that district. So it's clearly focusing just on the lot and block on the mall for these people. The problem I have is that the definition, which is created in the new draft, doesn't create any linkage between the concept of workforce housing and the use in the overlay. And because, for example, it says apartments located above commercial uses, means that there are commercial ratables in every zone that may or may not have these kinds of
This
capacities.
strictly applies to C1, it's to the mall. Forget the other zones.
It doesn't, the,
These are revisions to the C1 ordinance.
that's correct, but when you make that revision, you're using a term which doesn't only apply to that C1, it applies to every place in
No,
town. Sure it does, well,
But it's specific.
It's very specific.
It's very,
all right, let's all read the workforce housing definition. Where is there a restricted usage linked between that and the C1 change?
we define uses all through our definitions, but they don't refer that they're only applicable in this, or the specific zone, bulk and area, and use requirements dictate what you're allowed to do in
Yeah.
each one. And that's being revised in section 52522.
Well, but wouldn't it be,
Well, listen, Dennis, and Maureen just pointed this out. If you look at paragraph A, number 1A,
right, yeah,
it defines which blocks,
I understand that.
so that.
I know that.
Okay.
And it creates what we call this overlay. I got that. My point is, if this is an experimental operation and we're trying to see if it works in the mall, why don't we use the definition for workforce housing, which links that to this experiment overlay, instead of,
It's right there, it is. It spells it lot and block.
One whole section.
no, yeah, but see, when you go over here, you're looking at the
What if you
section,
want to do the same thing in a different zone later?
why wouldn't you?
But what if you want to?
Yeah, exactly.
You may, so then you don't have
There's
to.
a recommendation in the re-exam.
But you'd have to
that
change the
you might
uses
consider
for
in the
those
C2
others.
also.
You have to
But-
change the uses for those
But
others.
what Craig is pointing out is in the definition section of our zoning ordinance, we define the term hotel.
Right.
It's in the definition section. But that doesn't mean that it has to say you can only, in the definition section, in the beginning of the ordinance, and say, you can only do this in the C3 zone.
No, I understand that.
But then what's the,
Well,
but the same question is, why wouldn't you link the definition of hotel with the zone it can be used in the definition section? That's not where you do it.
So you're, at some future time, if this experiment works out, we're going to have to go in and change all the other uses for the other zones
No.
to let
You're gonna
workforce
put-
housing in
If you
there?
want to do it in the C2 zone, you say in C2, workforce housing is permitted.
That's what you have to change that
Maybe, or maybe
use.
you call it something different if it's, that definition doesn't work for the C2.
The only place this is going to apply when this is adopted is the mall, period, that's it.
The normal course of action for our defining uses in our zone, for instance, single-family dwellings, it's defined in the definition section of it. In the residential districts, the city has decided that it's appropriate in the R1, the R2, the R3, the R4, RS, R5. It's all listed in there. Each one of those districts has specific uses that have been considered and evaluated and make sure. That's how it's linked to the definitions.
Okay.
So you find your use under the zone you're in, and then you go back to the definition to make sure that understand what
Right.
that use is permitted as defined.
I got
in the
that.
ordinance.
And so if somebody in another zone, a commercial or a residential, which contains a commercial rateable, the city will have to go back and change the use sections of each of those zones.
But Dennis, we do, I mean,
That's all I'm-
yeah, revisions are done all the
That's
time.
all I'm asking.
That's how you're supposed to do it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I wanted to know.
Incorporate
I think
this
you're
use
asking a
into
better
another
question.
zone, that's how you do it.
I thought the term workforce housing was used elsewhere in the ordinance, and you were concerned that if we do it in the general definitions, everywhere it says in there workforce housing, it now has a new definition. But I assume workforce housing doesn't appear anywhere else in the ordinance.
No, it
Does
doesn't.
not.
That's-
The only time we could confuse it is if you're talking about affordable housing, because the affordable housing
Different.
stuff talks about workforce housing, but not as part of our ordinance.
I did want to ask you about that. Do you think that when you're doing your affordable housing analysis, whenever it is they make you do it in round 27 or whatever, that having this overlay will be helpful in that conversation at least?
No,
No, it doesn't meet the income
it does not meet their requirements. It's not, that's why we need to call it something, we had to call it something different.
else, yeah.
It's not affordable housing, in any sense of the word.
Well, in a sense of the word it is, but yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, it might be,
In
li-
any
yeah.
sense of
You're not
their
li-
word.
yeah,
In
the
any sense
limitations.
of their word.
Yeah.
So.
Affordable
it's-
housing is based
does
on
not count.
income. This is not based on income.
Right.
Because this is free will for whoever owns that property to be able to rent it at any rate. And if there's someone in the market that can afford that rate and wants to live there, they'll pay it. Affordable housing is totally
No,
different.
I understand.
Yeah.
What I'm pointing out, I thought, and I am not nearly an affordable housing expert. In fact, I admit that I know very little about it, but I keep hearing conversations about it. And I thought, like, there's those things where when we created cottages in the back, okay? And you can start pointing out these things as opportunities where there might be affordable housing. And you kind of get some play on that in your reports. Even if it's never rented for that purpose, you get to show you're making an effort to, you have an opportunity.
We have to
And I was
provide
wondering if
a
this might give you something
reasonable
to-
opportunity for the housing to be provided.
And that's why I wasn't saying no qualifies as affordable unit. I'm saying that when you have this conversation about things you're trying to do, I was wondering if this might be something that might be in that conversation.
No, they do not care. I mean, they would say yes, they pat you on the back, but it doesn't count in their calculation methodology. And that's
Why do the cottages count then?
because
They're new. You're building
Because-
something new.
it's a program that the city proposed to them in a town full of really expensive housing where that is a
no-
more of
no
a
other land.
realistic opportunity
No other land
for
to develop.
someone to convert one of those units into something that could be deed restricted for affordable housing.
The distinction's not as clear to me as it is to you. But
Okay? But I mean,
we're taking stuff off a short-term rental market and putting it on a long-term rental market.
well,
Yes.
there may be a developer that needs affordable units and can convince homeowners to convert their unit and to deed restrict it for whatever
Well, you can build a new one.
financial
Yeah.
benefit to each party, and that unit could be deed restricted and would count towards the city's affordable housing obligation.
So if you have an employee who makes $35,000 a year and you want to provide housing for them, isn't this creating that opportunity and isn't that affordable housing?
It has to be restricted.
I understand that.
Right.
But it has to create the opportunity to restrict. I am just pointing out that if I owned one of these with a bunch of stuff in it and I had to put employees in it anyway,
Putting employees, so one of the difficulties in getting people to change over, say, they're going to convert their garage into one of these affordable housing cottages, as you said, they lose control of who they get to rent to. You can't just pick and choose, hey, I want this person in here. It has to be marketed
Yeah, I know, it's a whole
in
thing.
accordance with the whole marketability, and it goes into actually a lottery that's done through, and your.
The state's involved,
town
too.
No, it's
and
actually through a
county
third party.
and-
do we have any cottages that succeeded in?
We have 2 units on Lafayette Street
Which are still vacant, by the way.
that are
What's
part
that?
of the deed. and
Which are still vacant.
No,
Nobody,
one is occupied.
But they weren't.
they must not pay the electricity.
No, we have not had any cottage conversions yet.
Aren't you also able, like, let's say in an R1 zone where it's all single family, aren't you able to build one and as an affordable housing unit?
Yeah, we can't tell anyone no.
They cannot
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. And they can do it, but they have to take on
Right,
the
it's they're
burden.
permitted uses
For 30
throughout the
years-
city.
For 30 years, you're stuck with whoever.
But what,
No, I'm not saying
but what we
you're not getting
did,
it. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
But
I'm
what
saying
we
that
did as
you do
part
things
of-
that seek to show you're making the effort, and even if they never actually happen, you get credit for making the effort. The
Well,
cottages are one example.
We
what-
made an
Apparently
effort.
my
on-
but
idea-
what the city did, we recognized that, hey, none of these cottage units are coming on board. So we have allocated more resources, financial resources, to convert these units. So now it's more financially palatable. We've upped the amount of money that the city would contribute out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to contribute towards these.
I'm applying evil lawyer mind to analysis. I get it.
Well,
It's okay.
guess what? We get reviewed and scrutinized by evil lawyer minds in reviewing our affordable housing plans, so that's what we have to do in order to create a realistic opportunity to provide the units.
We didn't veer off too far from the topic here tonight.
No, not too far.
No, you're not.
We went down the rabbit hole.
Can I just clarify one thing, that discussion we were having a minute ago? For workforce housing to be offered in any other place in town, the council will have to change the ordinance on use. Is that right? Correct. For that zone?
Correct. And you would have an opportunity to review it as the planning board.
All right, okay, that's not where I'm
Why
going.
not just offer it to everybody now? To anybody that wants to create an apartment for workforce housing? Maybe somebody has a garage apartment that can't do it because of parking, that would if they had a stipulation. Why limit it to that area? I mean, other than get rid of the
That is
short-term
a
rentals.
policy decision, but as far as this board had recommended so far in the master plan, is we recommended it be considered for both the C1 and C2 districts. Now, there was some pushback with regards to outside of the mall versus in the mall, and that was a discussion that this board had. So that is why it became not the whole entire C1 district, it became the mall. So maybe in the future,
What was
the
the
governing
pushback?
body will decide to maybe incorporate this into the C1 or C2 district.
There-
And I believe that it would be consistent with the master plan reexamination.
There was discussions when this was presented at the council table, and there was not an interest in having it, at least at this point in time, through the entire C1. So
And the C2 was also,
we did not even touch the C2. We were just trying to move forward on the C1, and now we've scaled it back to be just the overlay on the
It
mall.
all goes back to the application on the.
Yeah.
yeah, I understand that. I understand it, but we're starting a ball rolling here, and we're not quite sure where that ball's going to go.
Well, we don't, and that's why we're limiting it to the three
Well,
blocks.
I just want to clarify,
As a
I want to clarify
test
what's going to
case.
happen.
Yeah, you can, if the consensus is from the planning board is to recommend that both the C1 and C2 be considered, that can be forwarded to the governing body,
Yeah.
but ultimately, they have to make that policy decision.
How about a commercial rateable in a residential zone?
Right now, we're not hypothecating.
Yeah.
We're working on this one.
It could be here all night.
Separate discussion.
Before we push this along, can we get a list of all the registered rentals on the mall?
I asked for that last time.
Which way?
The ones that have mercantile license?
Okay, yeah, but I just want to be clear, we cannot confirm potentially that is all inclusive of what is being rented.
Well, if you have a residential rental, you need a mercantile license,
Some
right?
people don't get licensed.
I'm just saying, the ones we have, the ones that are listed, because it appears there's like a lot of short-term rentals down there. So can we just see how many there are?
Well, that's.
We should know by the room tax they collect, right?
Not
No,
necessarily.
You don't know who pays room tax and who doesn't?
If you rent on your own, there's no room tax.
That's why.
No, I'm talking about the ones that are registered.
No. If an individual rents on their own, they do not, there's no room tax payable.
Okay.
It's only if it's done, basically through an online booking system. That's it.
And if they're renting there, then to be legal, they have to get a mercantile license. So we do know how many mercantile licenses are in that.
Unless somebody's doing it without a license.
Exactly, but
That's not what we're asking for. We want to see the ones that are doing it with a license. Is that much? Is that a big deal?
It would have to go to the city manager to determine if the clerk can provide that information. I can't, it's the city clerk's office.
I mean, we could get that, Ricky, I'm not sure what.
And fill out an Oprah.
Can I know what the point, yeah, what would be the point to justify it in light of this, or sending this back to council? It could be 1 or 100. If they're.
Yeah,
well,
there's a perception that there's a million short-term rentals down there, and I don't know that there are.
What's going
that
on?
anybody made that connection.
I don't know that I agree with that premise, right? The perception isn't that there's a million going on. The perception is that the last 2 or 3 times people have come to this board to convert the upstairs above the mall,
Right.
it appeared that they were converting them to rental units. So that the object of this isn't to capture ones that already exist, it's to try to prevent them from all becoming that. So it may be that we pass this and it never happens again. And that might mean that it worked. And what's there is there, and it doesn't matter. So it's not a matter of trying to get rid of what's there. It's a matter of seeing that this seems to be what's happening up there. And the idea of it was that these would be units that would have low impact on parking, but no one foresaw that they would all become Airbnbs. And if that's what they're going to be, then the concept of low impact parking is out the window, because the high impact parking.
Yeah, and you may find that there are 30 units on these blocks in this overlay. And,
I can tell you there's not.
well, I'm just making up a number to make a point. You could find out if there, let's say there's 30 units, and then you find out that 28 of them are already on the rental market. You're passing an ordinance and they're grandfathered. You're passing an ordinance which has an effect
We
on.
don't grandfather. That automatically, when you pass a new ordinance, everything.
Yeah, I get that. They're going to be grandfathered.
We didn't
All
grandfather.
right. They're going to be grandfathered. All right? So.
For a year.
The effect of what you do is you're applying a new ordinance to a handful of units, maybe 1 or 2.
And with the proviso that there's no parking required for the new.
For those 1 or 2 units. That's about it.
But the argument could also be that there are maybe empty spaces up there, that a property owner who has a shop down on the first floor would look at it and say, hey, I can, get this, put it, on the market for workforce housing and don't have to meet the parking variance.
We should probably go further and say they wouldn't need,
Oh,
they wouldn't need zoning approval.
Exactly.
Believe me, they'll get a parking
Building
variance.
permit.
Well, yeah.
Just for the sake of preserving, there were a couple of things there were said that were just wrong.
Plus,
You don't
there-
have a year to be grandfathered.
there's,
You are grandfathered. This is prospective only. They will become a non-conforming use. Okay? Now, they can confirm that if they ever need to or want to. They can confirm it within a year by going to the zoning officer and demonstrating that they have been using it as a short-term rental in the recent past. And if they fail to do that, then they come to the zoning board after the year and demonstrate that they are a non-conforming use.
Does
by
that-
showing
does
they did
that-
that. That's what section 3
Does that say
says.
the zoning board has to acknowledge it?
No, it doesn't. If the proofs are there, you have to. So if they come in and they show their rentals, then you have to. It's just like when someone comes in and says, I've been using this rear apartment as a residence for 37 years before there was a zoning ordinance. And we say, really? How do you prove that? They have a picture, or they have kids sleeping in the bed from the rentals, whatever they prove it. And they prove it, then you got to say, yes, okay, you were there. So it's just like everything else. So it's not true that after a year, you don't have a grandfather. Now, if you already have a unit up there, okay, and you have it on the second floor, and the third floor is storage, right? And now you want to make that third floor another unit, which, by the way, we had that application, okay?
No, we didn't.
What's that?
No, we didn't. It was already a unit.
Well, part of it.
It was already.
What are we talking about, this most recent thing?
Yes.
I'm going back to the one before it. It was like abandoned, and they made it into there was like a section that was storage.
2 stories in that building.
Right, whatever.
There's only 2 stories in that building.
Which building are you talking about?
You talking about where the beef jerky place is?
No.
Beef jerky, is that the
My
one you're talking
recollection
about?
was that there was
Beef
part of it that
jerky?
was a stairway, and they were getting rid of it, and they were making another bedroom, and they were
It wasn't
adding a bedroom.
It wasn't a third floor,
Okay,
that's all.
but, they were making whatever they had before bigger, okay, whatever that is, all right? That may be an expansion of a non-conforming use, so you'd be limiting that. That's all. That's what it's doing. So what you have now, you continue to use, you can prove it to the zoning officer within a year, or you can prove it before the zoning board later if you have to, okay? And what you can't do now is you can't expand it, just like you can't expand any other non-conforming use. And you can't create a new one. That's all this does.
So you want to make sure that if you go to the city, that something gets put in that property file showing that you got acknowledgement that it's an existing use.
plus, the city does have a mechanism, a new mechanism now, just, excuse me, if people are, advertising for Airbnbs, VRBOs, or whatever, to go after them to make sure they have a mercantile license. So that's one way. The other thing, I thought, one of the intents here, there are units on the mall that are used for storage on the second or third floor and/or third floor. And the intent here was to be able to create workforce housing by taking advantage of those spaces. And this gives them an incentive to do that, because if they do that, they go to the construction office. They don't have to come before planning
Yeah, that-
or zoning.
This doesn't say that. This just says that they don't need a parking variance. I'm not sure it says they don't have to, does that mean they don't have to come in front of the board?
They're a permitted use.
But that's the variance, that's the only variance they have to go after.
As long as they don't trigger site plan approval.
Right.
That's the only thing.
It would, wouldn't
I
it?
think, I'm thinking that it probably would because you're a
would.
mixed commercial.
It's gonna trigger a site plan.
But why is it going to trigger site plan?
It's a commercial building.
Not sure. I haven't reviewed that part, yes.
So then you do your site plan
Because
review.
I mean, our ordinance is written so that everyone needs site plan approval in town, and then it starts exempting uses out, exempting things out. Single-family and two-unit residential dwellings are out.
They don't need, they don't give the.
They don't need
give
any
noti-
site plan.
They don't do any notice either, right?
No,
Well, they don't need a site plan to begin with.
right. And then there's other exemptions, but I'm not sure that this.
No, I'm saying even this one, if you needed site plan approval, you don't have to give, you don't give notice for a
No, there's no notice.
There's no notice requirement.
So long as there's no
Our
variance.
discretion is virtually zero.
Right,
It's very different than a parking variance.
yes.
Still has to go through the process.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps we could ask Mr. Gillen Schwartz also about that. I mean, is it something that we can, that council could take a look at and say, you know, we don't think it meets the threshold, just to have someone come for an
To go for a
application?
site plan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
Get a
asking,
building-
I have,
Just get a building permit to go
yeah,
with it. That's all
I'm
you
just
need.
asking if that's, you know, a condition that we want to,
Yeah, that's a fair question.
That's,
Yeah.
that's the carrot. That's part of the carrot.
Exactly.
You don't have to go through all that nonsense.
Bill, I think we did talk about that at one point, early
But it
on
never
in the
got really-
discussions. Yeah, but then maybe it got, fleshed out. But so now let's do it before
Well,
we move forward.
Bill, if you don't need a site plan review and you just need a building permit, at that level of the process, you would have to be swearing that that it's going to be residential housing. Or you would have to do that at that point, if there's no other.
You're only getting the building permit because you're saying you're gonna do that, and there's no parking requirement. If you start, the city can go back and say, it's now short-term rental, you've gotta tear out what you did.
Yeah,
Violation.
so the applicant for the construction permit would have to attest that it's going to be a residential housing unit under the terms of this stuff we're talking about.
He has to meet all of these things, and it says
Yeah,
that in here.
right. And it's, at this point, it's only in the overlay in C1.
If the board doesn't,
No, overlay of the mall, of the 3 blocks.
Well, that is the
Not the
overlay.
C1.
I know, no, it's an overlay within C1.
is that a recommendation from the board that they want to see these things exempt from site plan review, or do they want to see them back here?
I thought the consensus was to be, inquire whether it needs site plan approval.
Okay. Well, I mean, we should give the governing body some direction. Do you think they're?
You gotta give them as much incentive as you can.
Right, so the incentives here are no parking variance and no site plan review.
Right, correct.
Well, and
Okay,
the other
so-
one was no mercantile license
So
also.
the recommendation should be that this workforce housing be added as an exemption as part of our site plan, as part of the site plan ordinance, so that it's crystal clear. No? Okay.
No, I would just, I would leave in here that one of the things in this overlay is if you meet the requirements, you don't need site plan approval.
Right.
And leave it at that, have it in this overlay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the only reason for a site plan would be if they were coming after, if they needed a variance, correct?
Or if they're actually constructing
No.
a second and a third.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
That's a
constructing a
difference.
second and third.
Yeah, so that's important.
Right.
That could be something in the future, if we expand this
All
to
right.
the rest of the C1.
So
you know,
Right.
what I think we need is a vote determining that this is consistent with the master plan re-exam, and I included all that language in there, and I went over that last time when we talked about this, the revisions last time. But I believe that it is consistent with the master plan re-examination. The language that recommends this is directly included in there as a recommendation. So you should vote on that, as well as any other recommendations, and I know that Rich mentioned 2 already.
I have 3.
3?
Section 3 perhaps should be referenced in the zoning ordinance. We suggest they send notice to owners within the district of the new regulation as a courtesy, not an obligation. And we inquire whether they intended site plan to be required, because we think it should not be. Those are my 3 things. So, I mean, traditionally, when we do these things, I'll do a resolution that says,
For each one.
what? No, there's 3. I just said 3.
3 recommendations.
Yep.
I had a minor editorial on the first preamble. Just the way it reads, it sounds like the C1 district is the Washington Street Mall, which it isn't. And just suggesting maybe have it read, located in the center of the city of Cape May, which includes the area of the Washington Street Mall. So it's, because we are limiting this to the
Yeah, I agree with
Washington
that.
Street
I agree
Mall.
with that. Encompasses to me means it's the whole thing.
Right.
My,
Encompass, because
includes is a better word.
includes, yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
include,
Yeah,
instead of
right.
encompass.
That's better language.
Because the C1 district does go way beyond that.
This is the wording of the ordinance?
Yeah,
Right.
the first line.
First line.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
The first section.
All right, so is that a 4th thing?
It could be 4th thing, yep. Just change one word.
Change one word, from encompasses to includes.
Includes.
To includes.
Okay, thanks. Oh.
Everybody comfortable with that now? Mm-hmm. The motion to send this to council?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Bob?
Mrs. Reed motions, Mr. Gorgon seconds. Mr. Gorgon?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDade?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Abstain?
Mr. Crippen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezare?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to say just one, can I say that? I think we worked very hard tonight. I think a lot of good work was done here, and I like the ordinance, but it's only going to be a success if it's enforced. And I hope that the enforcement of this will be what it should be.
I agree.
Duly noted.
Okay, the next item is the R4 zoning district. Craig has made some work here.
So, the-
Craig, you take it, after
Yeah.
facilities for a second.
sure, go ahead. The last meeting, the board asked me to focus on the quad section of the R4 district. And I prepared a new memorandum dated September 17, 2025. And if you take a look on the bottom of page 3 of 13, there is a photo showing a fence that's right up against the common walkways. On the page 4 of 13, at the top of that, there is an image very similar, a fence up against that. And it was identified that those are problematic. And we want to make sure that the ordinance is clear, crystal clear, that we don't want to see any fences or structures or anything up against those common walkways. So I made some recommendations for ordinance changes. If you, the top of page 5 of 13, we're looking at section 52517 R4, modified medium-density residential district. And if you look, you start going through this, under page 6 of 13, subsection C, it has accessory uses applying to 4 units quad only. So that's the section I focused on. There is a provision in there, or I recommended a provision be added. It said, all blocks containing, and this is at the top of page 7, all blocks containing 4-unit quads contain common use walkways extending from street to street and from parking to the rear walkway. No structures, including fences, shall be located within 2 feet of any common use walkway. So I recommended a 2-foot setback be the minimum required setback from those common walkways. I did receive some feedback from the zoning officer, who pointed out that I should not really include the language that says, quote, including fences. Fences are not permitted in the R4 quad district. They're not.
At all.
In 2020, there was an ordinance change that says there's no fences permitted in the R4 quads. Okay, so they're not permitted anymore. So there's some existing animals out there. I don't know whether they're legal, not legal. I didn't do that analysis. But, so there's no
That one looks
fences permitted in the quads right now. Was a 2020 ordinance, so that's clear. So by putting including fences there, makes someone think that they're,
Get a fence.
It might
you
be
could,
okay.
it was okay.
At 2 feet.
So so his recommendation was to say, just quite simply, no structure shall be located within 2 feet of any common use walkways. I also received feedback that said there are structures being put between the common walkways that run from street end to street end, which is a common area on the tax map. Is called, there's a declaration of conditions that said there was not supposed to be anything in there because there's a bunch of utilities and walkways in there. I don't know how things are appearing in there, but it was recommended to me that to make it clear that there's no structures that are permitted within that rear yard area between each common walkway behind the quad units. That make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay? But there's structures that are popping up there.
And there's nothing to regulate that now.
No, because I think there's been interpretations over the years that they allow for certain structures, so long as you're meeting the required setbacks. And if you look in the earlier part of that section, we have structures must be attached to the main structure legally on premises. I'm sorry, accessory uses applying to 4-unit quads only for trash enclosures, shower enclosures, and sheds. So it says structures must be attached to the main structure legally on premises. That's not happening with sheds because they're being put all over the place. Shower enclosures shall not exceed, sheds shall not exceed. The sizes, no structure shall be located within 4 feet of the side yard property line or 5 feet of the rear yard property line. That is subsection F. So those are the setback requirements for those accessory structures. They give the impression that those rear unit quads have a rear yard that falls in between those 2 sidewalks, the common sidewalks. So people think that their setback is measured to their rear yard that falls into that common open space, and they're requesting that sheds and structures be put out there.
Well, I don't even know if they're requesting.
What's that?
I don't know that they're requesting, they're just
Or they're appearing, but that,
Well, how does that work then in practice? Suppose we adopt this, or the council adopts it. And suppose a homeowner in there can show a zoning board variance that they can have that shed there.
I don't know that the zoning board has ever considered a variance for putting something in that common area.
So,
Not, personally, in my 20 years here, I can't remember any.
or a fence, the fences too?
No, we've never granted any
So,
variances.
so basically, everything out there, fences and structures, is illegal.
Right. Typically, we only see applications for quad modifications that deal with the front porch area, and it's typically a lot usage ratio variance or a front yard setback variance.
Right. We had one of those a couple weeks ago,
Right.
months ago.
That's what triggered.
So, but So the idea here is to clarify and make sure that the language is clear that nothing is permitted in that common area.
I missed a couple of seconds there. Where is the common area?
In the courtyard.
The sidewalk running from street end to street end,
Right.
in between those two sidewalks at the rear of the quads.
So my question is, if you look at the tax map,
I have a tax map right in front of me.
you see the delineation of the lots.
Yes,
Those sidewalks run across all those lots back there.
correct.
There's not an easement that I'm aware of. There's not a recorded easement against any of those properties.
Right.
There's nothing legally that says those sidewalks have to be given to people to cross over them. If it's maybe a prescriptive easement because it's been done for so long, but there's nothing on that title that says you have to let somebody use that sidewalk. So it may be a courtesy that's been extended for years and years and years, but it is not set in stone. Probably not even legal.
I would just point out that a tax map isn't where you would look to find that out.
I've looked at, and I've sold plenty of quads, and there's no easement.
There's no recorded map, there's
No.
no recorded subdivision
No.
map with that stuff on it.
No. The
So-
early ones, no. The later ones have, the later ones being Vermont, but the early ones don't have
Ms.
any
Roy.
of that on them.
So, Bill, I'm not clear on what that statement means, to be honest with you.
It
Are you?
means if you have a piece of property, and somebody's allowed to walk across your property.
Yeah.
There has to be a
An easement.
recorded restriction
Okay.
inside your deed. It says that public is allowed to walk upon my property.
Okay, so I think what we were talking about is, one, fences aren't permitted in the quads. And
That's
that-
not, I'm talking about title and usage.
Okay, but that was the first discussion. And the second discussion was the common areas.
There is no common area.
So what's in the middle
The
between?
middle is property that everybody owns that somehow
Yeah.
has just become, well, you can cross on my property. There's nothing on record, on title.
Okay.
Anything that says.
So someone could put a shed in the middle of those areas, a gazebo?
Hypothetically, they could.
Okay, well, that's what's been happening, so that was why.
Who's responsible
according to
for the
this, any
care and
structure
cutting
has
of
to
the
be
grass
attached
in
to the
those
house.
common
Okay, wait a
areas?
minute, wait.
According to this, any structure has to be attached to the house. So you
There are
can't put-
accessory structures,
So you can't put a shed in the courtyard.
yeah. Or a gazebo.
Or, yeah, you ca-
Or fire pit.
Right.
Or, I mean, patios are up back there.
Craig, you're saying
well, a
in
patio
the
is not
back
a
from
structure.
sidewalk to
Okay,
sidewalk, you
but
call
they're
that common
they're
area?
not, they haven't,
I'm calling
get
it
a
common area because the way that those whole quads were designed was more of a campus thing. The way that they were approved never ended up with easements.
Right.
So it was never done correctly. So now you have this mess out there where setback, so, yeah, the property, I mean, I'm looking at a tax map right here. I mean, the tax map actually calls out the common walkways as common walkways, both in between the quad units from going from the parking are actually delineated, like those spaces, and that's a mess too, because those,
Bill, what do
the rear unit was supposed to have one of those parking spaces that falls on the front unit's property line.
Who pays taxes on the area?
The guy
In the front.
front owner, they pay taxes. The people in the back have a parking spot, which, until the last ones were done, which was the last group of them were, but prior to that, that's why we've had all these cases, was the back, person in the back says, he blocked my spot, I can't park there. The person in front says, he's on my property, I pay taxes, I gotta worry about the maintenance and the liability, but he still wants to use it. So it was just kind of an unwritten law, much like that sidewalk in the back, that's how they were, it was just done in very haphazard, and, look, I'm ashamed to say, I was on the board when that was done, I just didn't.
Yeah, there should have been easements filed for all of those.
And the parking space too, should spell out that this space is for the units to use in the back, so it's a cluster.
The common, I was gonna say, the common area we're talking about, who's responsible for the cutting and landscaping of that?
each property owner,
property owner.
right.
So that's why they feel they could put
They feel it's their
something on
property
it.
then.
Well, it's their
Yeah.
property.
But
It
it's
is
just
their
like,
property.
it is,
It's
but
their
it's just like
property. It's
anything
not a
else.
common
You
area.
can't put a shed in the front yard.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
they
yeah.
usually
Own it.
I-
Well,
Right,
I
setback.
know, I understand.
so the ordinance says that those type of structures have to be attached to the principal structure. So like, none of those things should be out there.
Right.
So like, my reading of this was, there is enough protection here, and those things have happened, but they shouldn't have, if this ordinance was, the existing ordinance was enforced. So My goal was to put something in here that said, makes it clearer.
I think it tends to legitimize illegitimate things.
It's right. I mean, the other thing is, you made an attempt to correct it, but the lot sizes are not even in the ordinance.
Well,
For a 4-unit building it is, but not for individual.
so I did make that, I already made that recommendation in here too. I haven't gotten to that part yet,
Okay.
because I know that was your baby.
Well, no, but I was trying to, when I looked at this, I thought, what the hell, there's no easement there. And that sidewalk has just been, people,
Yeah, so,
the mailman uses it. He delivers the mail down that sidewalk.
so there may
No.
not need to be a change to this section if we just enforce it as the way that it is, or maybe the board wants a clarification put in there, I don't know. I'm looking for direction from the board with regards to that.
Are the fences that you have pictures of legal or illegal as it stands now?
What's that?
The fences you have pictures of in there, are they legal or illegal as the ordinance is now?
As the ordinance is there, it says no fences are permitted for the R4 quads. And that's section
Why are
5.
we passing legislation to move fences that aren't supposed to be there?
No, I think
No, here you said he took that
we
out.
took that reference out.
We took fences up.
Yeah, I made the recommendation,
What is it that we're trying to stop with this new section that isn't already illegal?
well, making it clear that there are no structures shall be located within 2 feet of any common use walkways.
All right, but if there's already side yard setbacks, and every structure is supposed to be attached to the building, why would we need to say?
Because you could attach a structure to the building and it could still fall within
Are there-
0 foot of a sidewalk.
There's 0 setbacks?
On the common sidewalks that run in between the structures, you could get a structure there.
But it says how big they have to be.
Right.
Oh, you've got lot coverage, you've got lot coverage.
No, but it gives you a maximum size. It can be 4 feet wide and 6 feet, 4 by 6, and 8 feet high.
All right.
That already exists, right?
So you're.
So you
comfortable-
can't,
Sorry, go ahead.
so you can't hit the sidewalk with a building that big, with something that's 4 by 6.
Okay.
If you follow, I mean, I think that's pretty clear what it says.
I don't have a survey of all of the structures, so I
Well,
can't.
Bill,
I got one right here,
yeah,
from Virginia Avenue.
That's a corner lot, so like.
Corner
this-
lot. Well, but you still have the walkway going across it, which does not show on the survey.
Why isn't this walkway shown on the survey?
Well, I don't
So
know.
that's not a very good example.
I was gonna say, it's a lousy survey.
Virginia Avenue.
Craig, you're comfortable that the thing that they're passing is not surplusage? It's not just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not just language that's never gonna have any meaning. It's not something that's
This
just
is-
redundant. It's not redundant.
It's not redundant.
Okay.
This is a setback,
It's gonna prevent, it may prevent things that are already not prevented.
right. This is a setback,
That's all I asked.
no, this is a setback from the common walkways,
Right.
which is not anywhere in the ordinance.
How are you going to define common walkway when it's not even
Common.
allowed?
Right.
It's an imaginary line everybody's been living by, but it's not in the ordinance.
that's actually on somebody's property.
It's on my property,
Yeah.
but it's-
Yeah, I know, but my point is it's a mythical thing. This
All right.
walkway.
No, it's physical, it's there.
No,
But
mythical.
Once again, we're back to square one, like this,
I know it, it's mythical, not.
Came full
physical.
circle.
It's a myth.
What happens down there happens down there. Because, you know, as a property owner in that area, and people don't have clarity, they don't understand it, they see what their neighbor does, they say, well, they can do it, it's been out there, the shed's 10 feet tall and 4 feet wide, and it's sitting in the middle of, you know, what should be somewhat of an open space.
Because they don't understand it, there's no.
Right, and
there's
what
no
Bruce, what
common
Mr.
area out
Britton has said is, look, I really need to be able to point to something that's very clear. And what this is, quite frankly, is not clear.
No, it's not.
So I would encourage that, you know, in order for there to be something very clearly to be pointed to for a resident or a property owner, that you make it as explicit as possible, because they're not, they're, you
Why
know.
don't you just start over, reverse everything, and just say, no structures are permitted except as follows, and then list the things.
That,
It
that,
says that.
well,
Says they have to be attached to the building.
yeah.
Who repairs the sidewalk in the back?
You can,
Property owners.
Is that the practice?
Yeah, if the city doesn't.
If-
If those are the options, it would
if
be,
you
yeah.
want to preserve
There's no association.
that open space at the rear of the quad units, we could increase the rear yard setback so that you could never put a structure anywhere in there. I mean, we could figure out what that
How are
distance
you
is.
calling that a rear yard?
Isn't that their front yard,
How are you calling that a rear yard?
if they're in the back quad?
I think it's defined in the ordinance because it's opposite of the street.
You've got, and you're in the middle of the block, you got
We're-
streets on both sides. I mean, how do you?
All right.
We call, I mean,
It's a
that's how it's
conundrum.
referred to, you know, that people say the rear courtyards.
You
I
know
mean,
so much more about this than I do. I am simply saying that it would seem to me that in an area where it's designed not to have structures, it shouldn't be that hard to say, no structures are permitted except the following, and then say what they are. It just seems to me like we're trying to fix a big problem with, well, like, there's obviously a big problem, and we're piecemealing it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you say it's a good
agree
idea,
with-
I consider it a good
I
idea.
agree with that approach. Make it as clear as possible, and if it's easier to say explicitly, this is not permitted, then, you know.
Well, we already know one thing. We know, don't we, that fences are not permitted in that.
So if we're saying that there's no structures permitted in that area, we have to define that area.
Correct.
Because there's no definition of that area.
They're only permitted.
Isn't it between certain streets or something?
Or like Rich said, the only structure, there's only 3 structures that are allowed.
Fences?
Shower, well, no
Shower,
fences.
shed, and-
Shower, trash, and a shed, and they all have to
So long as,
butt up to the structure.
I think that section takes care of it. If it has to touch the
How much
principal
clearer
structure,
can you get?
then nothing can be out in that area.
Yeah.
Ever.
That's it. There's only 3 structures.
And you can't have a fence.
No fences are not even permitted in there.
Right.
I don't see what this,
That's already, so
Well, I guess,
I prefer that they just enforce what's already here to the letter of the law, and I think all of those situations go away.
Well, did you talk with Mr. Britton about that? About what would be the plan to enforce?
I would table and revisit this.
It's a win situation.
I will have another
We
conversation
don't-
with
we-
him and
what we
get back to
don't
you.
want is another happen and occurrence of what we put those folks through, so that they didn't have to come.
Yes, the site
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree.
We already, I think we fixed that already.
We did.
okay.
No, we already passed that.
That's ordinance has already been adopted.
Yeah, it's been
That was a
adopted.
site plan exception.
Craig, when was the fence restriction put in?
Been there forever.
What's that?
Quads.
And the quads, you just said
2020.
In
2020.
2020, there was an ordinance adopted that says there's no fences in the the R4 quads.
So somebody who had a fence prior to that would be grandfathered?
Was it 20?
If they legally put it in before that, yes.
Yes, okay, so this is, going forward, no fences in the
Right,
quad.
we don't have to worry about fences in the
Right.
quads.
Okay.
Those sidewalks
So
in
it's only
between,
dealing with structures.
they've never moved, right? They've always stayed there, whether they were constructed, they were built as,
I guess, I don't know.
I mean, they've been there for 40 years,
They have been.
50 years. I mean, it's not a,
Well, somebody.
Continuous and
somebody could-
hostile.
Somebody could protest it, the people walking across their property, and.
The 2 front guys could put a fence up and not let the back guy back there.
Anybody in Middle Block could do that, but they
But I'm saying you could block
they
the,
can't put a fence up, the fences will.
well, you could block, you could take that sidewalk out
The
if you
tax-
had the front 2 units.
What's just strange, because the tax maps identify them as if they were almost easements. It says, they say, common walkway, in parentheses, typical, and they're all located on the tax map.
I remember putting that together on our last
Yeah, you-
revals. It was god-awful. And Kevin Zielinski from Remington, God bless him, he's the one that really, really researched this. And I'll tell you, if we ever have to go back to it, Kevin still is with Remington. I think Kevin would still be a good source of what happened here.
So, he put nomenclature to an existing situation without creating a legal.
I don't know if he did.
Well, you would have to do deed research on all of these lots in order to figure out what's going on there. I can't tell you whether there's easements or no easements, or,
You could do, I could get you title reports of 5 of them, and that would be what they all had.
Probably.
None of them ever had.
I just question whether there's a map. Not everything is in a deed. You can have recorded maps that can create common easements.
There was no map.
We looked everything. We could not find anything to justify what's there.
There's even a,
I have no idea.
there's even a declaration of conditions that's listed on the tax map that says, Cape May Green Incorporated, Village Green, townhouses. Yeah, and it shall be subject to easements for common sewer, water, gas, electric lines running from adjacent streets to the buildings, but there's nothing says anything about the sidewalks.
That's gobbledygook.
Yeah, I know, but there's no,
Easements for utilities, and that's it. Yeah.
but it says it refers to utility easements, but there's probably never been recorded.
Right.
So like I said, I'm sorry.
How did they create the lots if they didn't record a map? I think the maps were, the lots were recorded, but the actual,
They just don't have a picture of the sidewalk.
no, none of that stuff is there.
What if the sidewalk falls into disrepair? Who has to fix it?
That's why I asked. I think it's the property.
Always the owner.
I think we table this for right now. Yeah, I copied and pasted all of the, yes. So not only just, so, let me just, before we table, if you take a look at page 8 of 13, if you notice, we have a bulking area. So Cape May is very consistent with this. We always have a specific bulking area table for each use that's permitted in the zone. So table 1 has single-family detached. If you notice, lot size per family. So we have a lot size per family mechanism that's for single-family detached. For semi-detached, which is the 2 units, we have a lot size per family requirement. For quads, we don't. So my recommendation was to incorporate a lot size per unit because each of these quad units has the common party wall, property line on the common party wall and are separate lots. So in reality, none of those are conforming lots based on the way that it's always been interpreted that there's 4 that sits on the 11,250 square feet, but we should fix that. That is something we should do. The lot size per unit should be changed to 2812. Lot width should be an each unit lot width. Lot frontage, same thing. Those things should be changed consistent with the way that we do with single-family detached and semi-detached. So,
I looked through a couple of those quads. You got 700 square feet for the minimum habitable floor area, which works. Most of them are 750 square feet.
Right, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that works. The 45 feet, the lots are basically 47 by 61.
yeah,
47 by
there are
60,
some
47 by
47 by 61s is the smallest one that I could find.
Right.
They are tiny.
But there's still
For 600.
something missing about each individual lot having its own requirements. I just, you're not, you're defining it per family, not per lot, I guess. I mean,
This is a per lot methodology, just the way that we did it for the other ones.
right, the single-family detached,
They're 6250.
they're easy, those are the twins.
No, single family, single.
Semi.
Single-family detached is single, and single detached, those are the twins.
Right.
They're easy to figure out.
Yeah,
The quads are the,
I mean, it's based on where the quads are.
well, they're all.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even the front ones don't have a lot size requirement per unit. It's just the whole building has a lot size requirement.
Well, and it should, because more and more people are expanding on those quads.
No, I'm saying to begin with, each individual one doesn't have it.
No, I understand that, but I think if you're submitting a zoning application or a construction application, it's easier for the homeowner if it's defined as understanding what their lot size is. Right, and so that's what I'm saying. We should, address that, because people want to do expansion, and if you have something that says 11,200, they don't understanding how they're supposed to, usage, lot coverage, any of those things.
And then go to the next table, quads, floor area ratio, 36%. Is that the entire building? You have to add them all together? You can't do
No.
36%?
No.
So you
It's
got,
it's per lot.
Well, it doesn't say that.
The definition says per lot. So you read that and you go to the definition of those specific. The R4 district has more restrictions than just floor area ratio. They have a lot usage ratio, it's very dynamic. But that still doesn't fix we're trying to fix a problem that should have never happened. Those easements should have been filed and, right, so. And you might get into property owner issues, so we're going to table the rest of that discussion.
I don't think those easements were ever recorded.
I know, but that's the problem. So how do we deal with it?
I don't know. It's late. It's like, before those last set of tax maps, before that last reval, those maps for the quads were awful. I mean, there wasn't any differentiation. There was just nothing there. We tried to best put on that tax map, even though it's not a legal per se document, but it's pretty much what's there now. It's pretty much what's there. Never was on there before. You check the old maps, it was just like a wasteland, really, and with no justification. You're right, it is the Wild West there.
Yeah, what happens? You have an owner saying, hey, don't get off my sidewalk, and you can't even get to your unit.
Well, what
If
ends
you're
up
an
happening,
inside quad unit.
what ends up happening is eventually somebody goes to court, and then that decision gets recorded, and that then applies to everybody else.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they're, up till now, some of those parking spaces, they settled them before it became a decision. So it was never recorded, and so it's still hanging out there. I mean,
Yeah, I think there's been like 9 lawsuits about
yeah.
just on parking spots.
Have they really?
Yeah. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And you would think that after those lawsuits, they would have had some justification for,
They weren't recorded.
I know, all I'm
Right, they were
saying
all
is,
settled.
you think,
Yeah, they came to the internal,
They settled them.
they settled them.
Yeah.
Even Bruce talks to people now. I mean, he's shared with me, he's like, look, they're out there, somebody's buying a unit, thinks they get a parking spot. And he said, the neighbor's saying to him, no, I have 2, that's not yours. And, then.
I guess way back when, the city accepted that stuff without,
It did.
without that stuff. I don't know the answer to that one.
I mean, if you look on a subdivision, and at the meeting, they were saying, well, that unit gets this space, that unit gets that space. It was one of those,
Yeah.
you just
It
take the word for it.
Well, and it just
And
looked like the
If you were
natural
taking Brutus's word for it,
division of parking spaces.
you never knew.
It was a great plan if the easements were filed.
Yes. All right, so I think what I've heard is 2, 3 motions to adjourn.
Now we have to
Payment
pay
of bills.
bills.
Payment of bills.
Pay the bill.
Don't pay the
Motion to
bills.
pay the bills, already signed them. Motion to pay it.
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Final motion?
Good night, everyone.
All right, good night, everybody.
No.
So maybe we'll get together one time.
What's that?
Maybe we'll get together one time.